Hi. Today we're going to be continuing our discussion for the week on navigating emotional challenges. Today we're going to talk specifically about how to deal with family conflict. Sometimes we know that getting together with family members during the holiday can breed challenges, some unresolved conflict, maybe some things, unresolved childhood trauma, family members preferring one family member over another. And it could just be a lot of things going on. And so sometimes when we gather together with our family members, it can be a joyous time. But for some, it can feel like a little bit stressful, can bring on some feelings of anxiety or sadness, or just not really knowing what to expect. And so today I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about how to handle some of those moments, how to normalize some of those stressful moments, to just give yourself some grace, first of all, to know that it's okay to feel a certain type of way. If you feel like, well, why don't I feel good about being around my family? Other people feel really happy about being around their family. And just understanding that everybody's life is different. Everyone's journey is different. People had a different childhood. Two people can grow up in the same house and just experience life differently. And so it's okay to feel apprehensive, anxious, stressed about gathering with your family members for the holiday season, but still being committed to attending those family gatherings. And so I just wanted to help a little bit with how to best navigate that for yourself and some of the things that you could do. So one of the things that you want to do is to set clear boundaries before the gathering. So boundaries are really good. Like, setting boundaries is going to be like your top thing to do. It's okay to say things like, I'd rather not talk about that today. It's okay to say, I just want us to be joyful today on the holidays. I just want to be joyful today, and not to make other people feel like, well, what do you mean I don't want to be joyful? So you just want to keep it really light. You want to establish boundaries. You want to think about, before you even get there, what are some things that I am willing to talk about? What are some things that are just going to put me in a really bad space? And sometimes when our emotions get high, we can say that I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to address that thing. And then here comes that person to talk about something that we've already said we're not going to talk about. And sometimes we can be easily pulled in. But regardless of how far you get pulled in, if you get pulled in at all, if you don't get pulled in, great. But if you get pulled into a conversation that you don't want to be in, you can always back yourself out and say, excuse me for a minute. Let me go to the restroom. Let me go get a second helping of sweet potato pie or whatever it is. Just giving yourself an out. And you want to kind of be able to set these boundaries before the gathering. So when you get there, if anything happens or goes in a different direction than you want it to go, you already have pre-planned in your mind, and you're being more proactive, because that helps you to stay and remain calm than being reactive. And so the second thing that we can do is just to manage our expectations. We can't control how other people are going to behave, but you can manage your response. If certain patterns repeat every year, be ready for them and know it's okay not to engage. And sometimes, if previously in the past you have engaged, people may have an expectation of you that they're going to be able to pull you in and you're going to continue to engage, but they will be surprised that you are not doing that this year. And you are going to manage your expectations of others, and you're already going to be ready for some of the things that have happened previously, and you are going to have a response, or you are going to be able to figure out beforehand how you are going to deal with these things. The third thing is to have an exit plan. You can plan a way to step away if things become overwhelming, whether it's a short walk, a phone call with a friend, leaving early, knowing you have an option that can help you feel like you are in control of the situation. There are some things that you can't control when family get together and how people are going to act. But one thing that you can control is yourself and your response. This is one of the best forms of self-care that you can give yourself, to know and advocate for yourself, to know when you're feeling overwhelmed, to know when you've had enough, to know when you have decided like this is not the place for me. And so I think to have an exit plan is a great strategy. Another thing is to practice self-care. During the holidays, just taking time for yourself and just thinking about yourself, maybe before you attend a family gathering that could potentially be stressful for you. You definitely want to be able to practice some self-care. So whether that's doing something really nice for yourself and very relaxing that morning, just having a really calm and relaxed morning, not taking on anything that would bring stress or anxiety or anything like that on you. Maybe talking to a friend before you go to your family gathering who usually like put you in a really good mood, listening to some good music on the way there, or a really good podcast, or whatever your go-to thing is to lighten your mood is great. Another thing that you can do is to focus on joyful moments. Find and cherish the moments that bring you peace and joy, whether that's a family member that you do connect with at the gathering. I think there are always people in our family who we may have one person in our family, even if our family is potentially can be toxic during the holidays, there are going to be people in your family that you potentially may be able to connect with, even if it's one person, or even if it's like your niece or nephew or your cousin, or, you know, just enjoying the little kids running around and being happy if that's possible. I think it's really good to try to find joyful moments, even in situations that are stressful or that feel like they are filled with tension. You can always find like ways to connect with other people where you can feel supportive. So if there's a situation that family stress during the holidays that you can think about, I know, Kim, you have joined me, and I don't know if you have any ways that if you have encountered any family stress at gatherings and want to offer up any ways that you are able to handle family stress, or if you just want to give a thumbs up, like, yeah, I have had some family stress at gatherings before. That would be really cool. And also you want to be able to have emotional intelligence. I think I was just talking to a coworker today about how sometimes, like when she's interacting with her kids, sometimes she can get really upset. And she said, you know, I wish that sometimes I could just let things go. But if it's like the third time I've said something to my child, or I ask them something and they say something that's not true, or they lied to me, it just makes me feel really upset, and I feel like I'm coming unhinged. And so I started talking to her about having like emotional intelligence, being able to manage her emotions, and just being able to identify why she feels that way. She says she feels like everybody in her family was like that growing up, and she felt like she didn't want to grow up to be like that, but now she is that person as an adult with her kids, and she just feels like she really wants to be able to manage that. So we kind of talked through some things with her specifically and her family to just try to figure out like how she could start to manage that so she won't continue to have those patterns and continue those patterns. So I just want to close out by saying prioritizing your well-being is definitely a strength. It's not a weakness. If you find out during the holiday season, you can give yourself permission to set boundaries. You can practice self-care, and you can protect your peace. And if protecting your peace means leaving early, or protecting your peace means like stepping away from a situation, going into a different room, then those are just things that you have to do. Yourself is your first priority. And as I said, it's not a weakness to take care of yourself and to have boundaries for yourself. So if you found any of these tips to be helpful during this live, I would like for you to maybe drop a comment on Instagram or either on Facebook to let me know, like, yeah, I do have some family stress during the holiday, and maybe we can talk through some helpful tips. And I just want to thank you so much for joining me. And tomorrow I will talk to you. Thanks. Bye-bye.